So it's 10:30 p.m. in the UK, and we're leaning into that late night time where people are up, worrying, thinking, overplaying the situation, trying to figure it out. And maybe tonight you're thinking, why didn't they choose me? Why didn't my person decide that they wanted to commit to it, work on themselves, save the relationship? Why was I the only one who was really choosing it? So in this video, we're going to unpack that so you'll have a reframe about this so that you don't need to take it so personally, because I know when a relationship ends and when the communication stops, it feels like such a gut punch and it feels very personal. It feels like they have deliberately not chosen you, which feels like it goes into your sense of self-worth, your sense of identity, and all sorts of things. It's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel bad when someone decides to not progress the relationship. It feels like a rejection. It's a survival instinct for us to feel bad because instinctually we want to keep the pack together, to create a tribe, to feel safe. And when someone pulls away from that dynamic, we feel unsafe. But you're not unsafe. You are safe. And things are going to be okay. And once you process some of these emotions, the grief that's coming up and whatever you're making it mean about you, some of these big feelings are going to subside and things are going to feel a lot easier. I just got off the Heartbreak Healers call just now and it was so good. Today we reflected on our own part in the relationship, our own part in the downfall of the relationship, where we shut ourselves down, where we didn't speak our truth, where we put up with things that actually were not okay with us, and how we can actually look back at that and realise that we didn't even know what our needs were half the time. We weren't even able to speak our truth because we didn't know that we had to. And so sometimes this is so illuminating. And this is what we did today. We looked at what we can learn from the situation about ourselves going forward, how we can take the lesson to turn it into something empowering for us to be able to show up in a new way in the future in our relationships so that we are taking responsibility for our side of the street. So one of the things that we also talked about in the Heartbreak Healers Club today was how when you're in the relationship and you've got a willingness to own your part, it takes two at the end of the day. The other person also has to be willing to own their part. And whenever there's a problem or a conflict in a relationship, both people need to come to the table. That's how it gets resolved. And it can feel like an incomplete cycle or a loop that won't close whenever one person won't come to the table, and therefore you don't get to resolve it. When there is a rupture, you want the repair, especially when you're close to someone, when you've let them in, when you've thrown so much of yourself into the relationship. It feels vital that this person comes to the table to repair with you. And when you're in a situation with an avoidant where they don't want to do that because it's very confronting, it brings up all sorts of feelings like shame and guilt, and they're not used to that because maybe in their home environment when they were growing up, they didn't feel safe, or it was never modelled for them to say sorry. People didn't say sorry to them, so it didn't feel normal to apologise, to own up to something, because you might have been shamed or put down or devalued in some way. So it was better to stay small, to hide, to pull away, to distance themselves, and that was their survival strategy. So in relationships where the anxious one is saying, hey, I've got a problem, I want to resolve it, and then it ends, because this has been said quite a lot. There's been a lot of arguments and shutdown and dismissing and gaslighting, all these sorts of things. They didn't end the relationship because they didn't choose you. They ended the relationship because they chose their survival strategies. It was nothing to do with choosing or not choosing you. And a lot of the time in these relationships with avoidance, they really want to choose you. They do choose you, but they don't know how to handle the conflict in the relationship. It becomes overwhelming, engulfing. They don't know how to express their needs. And this is another thing that we talked about tonight in the Heartbreak Healers, was that sometimes we're putting up with things because we don't know how to say what we need. But avoidants also really don't know how to express their needs. And so instead of saying what the problem was, sometimes they don't, and then they just go. And then it leaves you blindsided. It leaves you very, very confused. And it's not that they didn't choose you. Again, is that they couldn't help but choose the shutdown. They chose to dismiss their feelings. They chose to keep it secret because they didn't know how to express it. And therefore, they chose to run away from the conflict because they did not know how to repair it because it wasn't modelled to them. So you can apply this to sort of lots of different situations, but essentially with avoidance, they haven't got the capacity to sit with the discomfort and they choose survival over the person because it feels like they have to, right? Because their sense of self is being threatened, their sense of identity, how they've lived, how they've coped all their life is being threatened, and it feels too scary, especially for an unaware avoidant. They're more likely to just go, oh my God, this is too much pie. Someone who's got a bit of awareness might have time to reflect on it, but then still it's very, very difficult. You really have to be very willing to do it. So essentially, that's it. They couldn't choose you. They had to choose their survival. That's what they're going to do. And they'll do that repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. It won't just be you. And, you know, as my ex-partner's mother said, we don't get a different version of him. We get the same one. And so it's the same with this person as well, right? Everybody gets the same version of them. And even though, you know, they can appear like they're all right with their mates and they're all right with other people, people know, the people who are close to this person know their avoidance, right? And know their coping strategies. They haven't not chosen you. They have chosen their sense of identity and their survival. Right, it's all they know how to do. So it's not personal, it's nothing to do with you. And hopefully that's going to make you go, oh yeah, that's true. That is true. They did do that and it's not my fault and I did nothing wrong. You did do nothing wrong by, you know, wanting to work on the relationship, wanting to repair, wanting clarity, wanting safety. You know, if there's no safety in the relationship, it can't grow, it can't flourish. And when there comes a point where the relationship is literally being called to either grow or fall away, you know, if they're not ready to grow, they're going to fall away. And it's the same with everyone. The more authentic you are in your relationships and in your life, and this is often what happens in these dynamics, is that, you know, maybe you shut yourself down for a long time. You weren't expressing your needs, your feelings, your desires, your needs, whatever. And then finally you start feeling really uncomfortable, started to say what you wanted to say, and it was shut down or dismissed, and you feel really, really disappointed, which leads to resentment, which leads to unhelpful behaviors in the relationship, and it's like a vicious cycle. And that's, you know, you're being able to see your part, but if the other person isn't willing to see that actually you were not to blame, it was both people showing up in their survival, then it come from compassion and love, you know, which is what you need in order to repair. So you only know what you know, and now, like I said before, we can take the lessons and the messages and empower ourselves with those messages so that we can show up better, be better, evolve in the next relationship, whether it's with this person, if they evolve, or with somebody else. I'm also really excited because just now I showed the Heartbreak Healers Club my new ebook, which is called Perfect Replies to an Avoidant. What to say, when and why, and it is so cool. And that was confirmed to me by their reaction tonight. They were like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is so useful. It's literally got so many different situations of like what an avoidant might put you through, what to say, when to say it, why it matters, when not to say it, and then it's got boundaried replies and then more compassionate replies and all sorts of different situations. It's got in real life situations, it's got a no contact guide. It's literally the most thorough guide of how to handle an avoidant. Now, what I want to know from you is, are there any situations that you're currently going through that you want to know what to say in, you want to know what to do? Because I want to make sure that I cover everything in this book. It's already covered so much, but if there's something that you want me to include in this book that you need an answer to, please tell me in the comments below, because I'd love to hear so that I can add it in. This is going to be out really soon. You'll know about it because I'll tell everybody about it really loud. It's going to be good. So if you want any more information about what I do, how you can join the Heartbreak Healers Club, I'd love to see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.